the age of Devolution. Hi guys, my name's Ty. I'm the frontman, lead singer, screamer, lyricist, songwriter, whatever you want to say, for the Leeds-based metal band Inheritor, and I also play rhythm guitar, singing, screaming, very much the same, in another metal band called Demoralised, recently reformed, currently doing an album, and I'm in the little studio where we're doing that in our free time. And I also feature on the Foodinati UK network, doing my own little segment called Ty's Mystery Bag alongside George from Devolution and Foodinati. And today I'm lucky enough to be talking about the 7 deadly sins. So we're starting off with with one that gets you a bit hotter under the collar, I suppose. And also disclaimer, I've made a promise to myself on this series today not to get into the works of Thomas Aquinas, not to sit and talk about, like, you know, the canonical biblical corpus. It doesn't actually have the 7 deadly sins. It's just aforementioned virtues and vices that should be staved off or, you know, strove towards. I'm not going to get into any of that. But yeah, 7 deadly sins, I think personally, little sub-intro, it's all a matter of perspective these days. It's all about balance, and I'm going to do a wrap-up at the end where we'll kind of encapsulate everything. But yeah, lust. Right, so lust in general. I think lust is not to be confused with passion. Passion's fine. You know, you're allowed to be really into somebody, or, you know, multiple people if that's your thing. As long as it's not involving anyone who isn't consenting, anyone who isn't of age, and animals, knock yourself out as far as I'm concerned. But where does lust become a sin, or where does passion, you know, stray into lust and become something that's not fun or enjoyable? There's going to be a common thread through this video. I think a lot of the sins lead into one another or bleed into one another and can be, you know, used in conjunction with one another, and that's what can make them more vindictive and evil and sinister and actually do harm. But so just lust on its own. The ironic thing is, actually, when I was contacted and asked to do this video, I was sat reading Venus in Furs literally as I got the message, so nice little bit of synchronicity there. So I'm definitely not looking at my notes. So lust's fine, you know, like we said, consent, communication. It's again another common thread. It's a animalistic, bodily, normal human need and yearning and craving. And I think like with any kind of human, you know, a human aspect of the human condition, and any kind of sin, to push it down is just going to make it worse. It's like Freud said about, you know, feelings and demons that aren't dealt with, they come back, you know, in uglier and more aggressive ways. So all your animal-based needs, just let them out, deal with them. As this good book says right here, I don't know if that's going to be in focus, indulgence over compulsion and indulgence over abstinence. Basically, balance. So yeah, where is that specific to lust? So again, if you know, you're in a relationship or you're seeing somebody and you're doing whatever you do when you get up to, go for it. If then that becomes a problem where it's affecting your life or someone else's life, your livelihood, someone else's happiness, that's when it's gone too far. I think we can all agree with that. You know, God forbid it ever turns into, you know, something that revolves around the R word that rhymes with grapes, which I'm not going to say, or any kind of, you know, unsolicited or unrequited and requested action like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to spell it out for you, even though I kind of just did. Yeah, lust is going to lead to some of the best times of your life, some of the best memories of the flesh, shall we say, some of the greatest, you know, sensual and emotional commitments and moments of connection, as well as just, you know, be it a sexual thing or a carnal thing. So yeah, that's kind of it with lust. Where do I fall in the circle of lust? I'm an angel. Nothing to report. No, so I think I've always, you know, not that I don't really care what you want to do, if you're like this or if you just not like this or whatever, I don't care. I think I've always kind of kept the promiscuity to a base level. You know, I am very, I don't know, I've got to be careful what I say. Put it this way, in like my personal life with my girlfriend, the fire is burning strongly, shall we say, and yeah, we have no problem, you know, indulging or whatever. I don't know what to say. This is awkward and weird. Her parents are going to watch this. Yeah, there's no problem like that. But as you know, in a way that's kind of I'm trying to be polite about it, but outside of relationships, I've never really been that lustful. I've never, chased after things like that too much. I've never preoccupied myself with it too much. So I suppose you could say that I'm definitely a sinner in this degree, but it's always been, with like long-term commitments, or it's never been like a fleeting thing. I've never gone out my way for it, because I think that's another thing as well. I think, especially with young lads, lust can get the better of your brain sometimes, and you'll just chase your tail. I'm not talking about running around with your appendage behind you. Not that one. You're not a dog, even though you may act like it. You can lose sight of what's important, or focus on your real goals and stuff when you're just out there aimlessly chasing that. But if that's what you want to do, go for it. So that's lust. Bit of a weird one. Started off a bit clunky there. I'm usually a bit more erudite, but yeah, I feel like a little boy with a spotlight on him at the minute. But lust is all good fun until it's not. That's what I'm going to end that on. So next we're on to gluttony, and I've just realised how northern I sound on camera. It always seems to happen for some reason. So gluttony, again, like with every sin, I don't want to keep repeating this, because for those of you who don't know me, I'm a complete nerd, especially for classical texts and religious writings, philosophical treatises, all that stuff. I think I just spat. Yep. So I don't want to get too into that stuff. I'll just preface it by saying, depending on which translation you're reading, which edition you're reading, which reading you are taking of it yourself, which perspective you've got, all of these things can mean something completely different. Are these just bad character flaws? Are they things that are going to make you burn forever in hell? We don't know. Are you going to freeze in the Jewish afterlife and underworld? There's just as much evidence for that one. I'm just saying, people. Right, anyway, shut up, Ty. Gluttony. Being a glutton. Glutting out. Right, well, I'm guilty of this, because anyone who, I'm going to say this phrase a lot as well, anyone who knows me knows that if there's like a bag of sweets, or, we're at a buffet, do we have buffets in England? I suppose we do. If we're at an all-you-can-eat place, or if there's food going round that no one else wants, I am going to eat all of it. I have always had this ferocious and endless appetite that just goes into this maw of a mouth I've got. I do just as much chewing as I do talking, believe it or not. So yeah, I'm a glutton. I absolutely will devour everything in sight. I've never dieted in my life. I'm not to toot one's own horn, but I've been metabolically gifted, shall we say, where I've never really put weight on. My body's never really changed shape ever since I can remember. So maybe that's going to catch up with me one day. I don't know. And again, Satanic Bible says, indulgence instead of abstinence, and indulgence, not compulsion. I've never felt like my eating got out of hand. I've never felt like, I've eaten so much. That's not true, actually. I've eaten twice in the past year. I've eaten so much, I was nearly sick. But it was at expensive restaurants, so really, I win. But, I've never sat and, eaten so many sweets that my teeth have nearly fallen out, or, eating so many burgers I couldn't get up and go to work, nothing like that. But I'm a glutton. Yeah, I'm a glutton for information as well. I'll just sit and watch God knows how many videos on a subject, or I'll just read and read. Maybe that's hyperfocus, I don't know. But I'm a glutton for inspiration and sensory things and intellectual stimulation. I'm a glutton for all that stuff as well. But yeah, I think gluttony, like any sin, if you're just dabbling in it and using it as something to spice your life up, why not? Or if you want to have a full day where you just glut out, and then the next day you go back to your normal ways of dieting or exercise or eating right, or just not glutting out, just living a baseline, normal, fundamental existence rather than filling your face. Whatever you want to do. That's if we're talking about, food and stuff with gluttony. So yeah, where does it become bad? When your health's compromised, when your livelihood's compromised, when it's affecting your mental health maybe, when it's affecting, other people around you seeing a change and Jesus, we're concerned about his health and he's not looking after himself and he doesn't notice it, then it's a problem like any sin. But I think it can also be, a wake-up call. You could see yourself going down this path, and then once you become this full-blown glutton, you could have that epiphany and go, oh my God, whoa, this really has gone too far. And it can fuel you to go the other way. If you glut out one day, or if you, maybe drink too many beers or eat too many sweets, eat too much chocolate, you might then want to go even harder in the gym the next day. Or I'm not a gym rat, I just want to put that out there. Or you might want to, make some healthier lifestyle choices the day after. So it could be like a momentary lapse, and then you could bounce back from that fully. So yeah, just enjoy it, man, and don't take it too far. So, emerald-eyed and wanting more. We've got greed. Greed, mammon, avarice. Mammon, if you use it with a capital M, is also the name of a demon, which basically encompasses all the ideas of greed and not gluttony. Sort of in a monetary sense, I suppose. Fiscally greedy, you could say. And check out Inheritor Song Reptilian for a little shout out to these themes. I'm just saying. Sorry, Nikki, don't kill me. Anyway, so yeah, greed. Let's talk about this in the financial sense, because I think that's the way it's kind of, understood and accepted. That's kind of the consensus. And for material gain as well. I don't think I'm. Let's do me first, because I'm filled with pride. I don't think I'm an overly greedy person. Like, I will glut out, but that's only if it's readily available in terms of food and gastrointestinal torture. I will take the piss a little bit, and I'll be like, indulge. But even I know when enough is enough, and when I am just being greedy. Like, for me, greed, it's a sin that affects a sin, lowercase s, that affects other people. So if I'm there and there's like hungry children and I'm sharing a meal with them, I don't know why I'd be having a meal with a load of hungry children. Then again, I did do that in Africa once, I tell a lie. And then I just start grabbing all the food and eating it. That's like harmful greed to me. That's just, it's malicious, and there's that kind of sense of superiority and me, more for me kind of thing. I think that's like the tagline of greed. Whereas, I could glut out, and if there's enough food to go around, we can all glut out together, and I'm perfectly happy for everybody. But if, someone else is in need of something and you're keeping it all for yourself just because you can, if you're like hoarding almost, I suppose, then that's when it becomes a problem. And, I know it's been said, myriad times and numerous times, even on this video series, when you have corporations that aren't paying people properly, but, you've got like this 1 percentile that are just like, more for me, and it, the people on the bottom of the ladder get stamped out. That's really bad, and it's horrible to see. It's disheartening, and it is dehumanising in a way. But on the flip side of that, I think a little bit of greed can be good. Maybe every now and then, if you need an economical boost, or you need to acquire more resources, yeah, go for it. Get a few more. You just balance it and navigate it nicely. If we didn't have greed, and I suppose envy plays into this as well in a way, we wouldn't have started going into caves. It's shit sleeping out here on the grasslands or in the tundra. Let's go in that cave. Let's be more comfortable. In fact, we can kill more mammoths and have more food for the season. Next, whilst it's snowing, and we'll die, or the numbers will dwindle because the sick and the infirm, the elderly of the tribe will die off. No, let's get more. Again, it's just an exercise in moderation, and I think greed can be a good tool and a good fire for a little bit of ambition. Sloth, the big, friendly, lovable misfit from the Goonies. He was a good guy. Love him very much. I think the football player, the NFL player or whatever, who played that guy actually died shortly after filming the Goonies, which is really sad. Definitely not checking if my mum's told me my tea's ready yet. That's the gluttony. Sloth. I don't think I'm guilty of this one. I think, right, so my family, my friends and my girlfriend have sometimes said, you just sat reading, or you just sat playing guitar, you just sat listening to music. To me, that's like brain, soul, and life fuel and food. So to me, I'm doing something, I'm actively doing something, like, that's me kind of propagating myself and bettering myself, or just pursue my interests and my love and my passions. So to me, that's not like wasted time or borrowed pain. It's, just representative of wanting to improve yourself or delve into your art form or your driving animus and impetus for, your hunger for life at your own pace. And yeah, alright, I'll hold my hands up. I do procrastinate sometimes. Like, I know I need to get my car in for its MOT. I've just not bothered doing it. But the grander scheme of things, overall, the overarching view of this, yeah, I don't think I'm guilty of sloth. In fact, I've probably got the opposite problem. I probably try and do too much, too fast, too sloppily, which is probably worse in some respects. But yeah, So I've just got way too much energy, and I am not scared of hard work. Like, I've always done physical jobs, like physically intense and laborious, intense. I go camping a lot. Physically intense and, you know, labour demanding jobs. I've always done that. You know, I've done pretty much everything in that field, because I can't be a successful musician to save my life. But you know, my main source of income at the minute is I do a lot of removals and clearances work. So, you know, I can be doing like 7 a.m. to it's happened before where we've done, like, I'm not going to say when, because the people who employ me and whom I work with probably wouldn't thank me for it, but put it this way, we've done some 18, 19, 20 hour days before, and I'm fine. You know, I'm happy to run up and down stairs with sofas on my back and that all day. It's a paid workout, I call it, and it's good for me to burn energy. So yeah, I can't fall into sloth, because then wrath will follow, because if I don't burn my energy off, it's like Einstein said about matter, it doesn't just evaporate, it needs to be displaced, and it gets displaced by being reformed into moodiness, or, you know, just being a bit prickly. Yeah, so sloth, I think it's the only sin that hurts you directly rather than other people. I mean, it will have a knock-on effect, you know, if you've been neglectful and not doing the things you need to do, that could have a knock-on effect to other people. But like the other sins, you know, you could project that outwardly, or maybe the reason you're feeling that is because of some, you know, outside influence or some stimulus that's caused that to happen. Whereas sloth, I think, comes from within. A lot of the time you just can't be bothered, can't be asked. Like I say, I'm a big procrastinator, but I don't think I fall into any of that. I like having things to do. I like responsibility. I like tasks, and I like struggle. You know, to a degree. But yeah, I'm not very slothful. Like, I have the other opposite problem. I'm very Rollinsian. I'm very like Henry Rollins. I've got to be doing 50 things at once, otherwise I'm not happy. Like, I don't have a vacation or a holiday. I go travelling. I go on these little, you know, intercontinental missions. Like, I've got to see everything in this country in the small amount of a lot of time I've got there. Otherwise, like, it's been a wasted trip, sort of thing. Definitely not checking my phone to just check the notes that I made earlier. So I put, this is like a counterpoint. Sloth, ironically, can create innovation in itself, because things wouldn't be designed in ergonomic and practical ways otherwise. It saves time and makes things more convenient. When done right, it's the epitome of work smarter, not harder. I think I'm right there. But yeah, and then I've just put that sloth can be a gateway sin. It can enable you to become dissatisfied, unfulfilled. It could lead to toxic lust. You know, like, let's say you're like, you know, out of shape and you're not satisfied with your life, and you sat in your mum's cellar and you see like a pretty lady you'd like to date, and that can turn into toxic lust. You know, you're going to have envy of everybody, and then wrath's going to follow at yourself and at the world, because, you know, I don't want to use the term incel, but you're an embittered little incel. Sorrows of Young Werther springs to mind. And then my last comment on this: if sloth didn't exist, we wouldn't have invented hammocks. Right, I'm not going to say this one's my specialty or my forte, but, you know, we'll see. My tea's still not ready. Right, so, wrath, or wrath, if you are from the medieval ages, I suppose. This is the sin that is going to end up in you, standing in the desert, receiving Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a box. Become wrath. Yeah, so for a guy who wrote the lyrics, through sins and circle 7, I am become wrath. Thank you, Divine Comedy. Circle 7, wrathful, aggression, all that stuff. It's where I'd end up. So, let's go back to a bit of LaVey. I like Anton LaVey's take on this in the Satanic Bible, because he says, if someone, like, you know, like slaps you on the cheek or spites you, smash him on his. You know, don't turn the other cheek, smash him on the other one. And he also says you might teach him a valuable lesson, because he might not do that to other people. He might not bully, harangue and berate or wind other people up after that. You might teach him a valuable life lesson. Oh, it's like Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Everyone's got something to say until they end up biting their own tongue off, I suppose. And I am not advocating for violence, I'm just saying. So, what have we got here? Yeah, so I've already thrown out Anton LaVey in there, plugged my own band. Yeah, another song by us, Wasted Time, Borrowed Pain. If you can't tell by now, wrath is a sin that's very close to me. Or not so much wrath, because depending on what you read, it says that wrath is like using your power or your indignation and your ire to do harm, like willfully and knowingly. I think the more common, like colloquial like accepted version of the term and the sin is, you know, it's just uncontrollable anger or exceptional anger and rage, frustration, which is completely human. So to me, that's not as much of a sin as it is winding somebody up to get to that point, like knowingly or on purpose, or I think I just spat again, or not knowing that the situation's getting that dire. You know, I think there's equal blame a little bit there. So, you know, when does wrath become a problem? When anyone gets hurt, when anyone gets hit, you know, without, you know, due reason or everything been, you know, put in place to prevent that. Yeah, I think violence and wrath and anger and arguments are fine when it's done to stamp out something that's unfair or that is sinful in itself. For example, if you see a guy attacking a woman and you smash his head in, you've got to have a bit of wrath in you to do that. But I think that's fine. I think it cancels it out, you know, because it's for the greater good. But yeah, so when does it become a problem? Wrath, rage, anger, hatred, in a way, I suppose. They're all kind of closely linked. You know, when people get hurt, it can lead to murder. You know, what happens when wrath and lust get mixed up? Jesus, we won't have a crime of passion otherwise, would we? I think this is really common sense, though. It's like, if it becomes vindictive, evil, malicious, you know, you have violent intent, you know, I think wrath is the vehicle that drives, like, the human, like, the dark side of the human emotions. And it's not so much the context that always gets remembered in an argument or in a fight, it's the action. So if, you know, some guy, like, starts on you in the pub or in a bar and he's, like, giving you crap for 20 minutes and saying everything to you, threatening you, and then you eventually just go, night-night, everyone remembers that you don't necessarily remember the build-up. So yeah, I'm very an eye for an eye in that case, but I think everything should be done to avoid that scenario in any circumstance, really. Personal context, and am I a saint or a sinner here? Me and Wrath have been bed partners for many, many years. I've always been quite a highly strung person, I suppose you could say. I've got the devil behind my eyes, somebody once said to me. Not in that voice, though. You know, I wasn't sat in a room with a random, like, 1800s peasant or anything whilst he was saying that to me. You know, you have the devil behind your eyes, boy. Although it was a similar circumstance, I must say. So yeah, I've always been quite an angry, outspoken, brash person. You know, my Instagram handle is NiceGuyTie666 for a reason. I was known as Nice Guy Tie, and I did not give myself that epithet. You know, I was nicknamed that because it was an ironic thing as well, like it was tongue-in-cheek, because I can be a very angry and acerbic, and sometimes, you know, verbally I can be quite nasty. I can be a bit of a dick, to be honest with you. Everyone who knows me is like going, yep, nodding their head. Maybe that's just intellectual and verbal pride, though. We don't know yet, do we? So yeah, like I said, I wrote that song Wasted Time, Borrowed Pain, which explores my relationship with rage, anger and everything, the struggle to try and get rid of it, but also keep it as fuel, you know, for art or for combat sports, martial art, exercise. It's a great fuel, is anger. You can turn anger into any kind of fuel. You know, it's a raw element and a raw product that you can turn into whatever you want it to if you know how to channel it. So yeah, that song, it explores not getting rid of it, but maybe being able to hone in on the better qualities of it and harness it, and use your power for good. So yeah, I could talk about wrath all day, but I've not smashed anything up for many years. I've never hurt anybody. I've never said anything that was unforgivable, I don't think, although my mum probably has got some comments to make about that. But same to her. I am only what you made me, a reflection of you. As Charles Manson said. But yeah, I'm waffling now, but it's a funny one. Wrath's like an old enemy of mine that got enough respect over the years to become a friend. It's become like my life's anti-hero, I suppose, because it fuels a lot of what I do and it keeps me alive. And it just feels so good to get annoyed sometimes. Come on, admit it. Envy. I think very much like wrath, anger, whatever you want to call it. This one's a great tool, and it's only a sin or a crime or a trespass against your soul, should you misuse it or misapply it or let it run amok without being checked or reined in by, you know, your higher sense of reason? And, you know, just if your human faculties get overtaken by envy or wrath, you probably need to emotionally and mentally mature a little bit, because with all these sins, we all experience them, we all indulge in them, we all, you know, gleefully play about with them every now and then. And that really plays into the point I'm getting to now with envy. So envy, I don't really suffer from this one, I don't think. Maybe like momentarily, and I'm talking like a few seconds, like I'll look at someone and go, I like that shirt he's got, but then I'll just buy it. I'll just buy the shirt and then that's it, and I go, I've got it now. You know, if we didn't have envy, gym memberships wouldn't exist. I don't know why I keep going about gyms. I think it's just because it's a bodily thing as well as a spiritual thing, the sins. It does kind of tie in very, very well together. If you didn't have envy, you wouldn't have adverts, and advertising companies would go out of business instantly, because unless you see something you want, you know, how else is envy going to play out? And you're always going to see things you want. That's how, you know, that's how the market works. That's how everything works. But again, that's kind of like greed in a way. You know, but as humans, our nature is to accumulate things or to gather things. You know, because if you weren't greedy enough that day or envious enough, and you didn't go gather all the resources you needed as a hunter-gatherer, you'd probably go kill the next tribe and steal theirs, and that's bad. That leads to vicious wrath. This is what I was saying about sins bleeding into each other and exacerbating one another and exasperating the situation. So yeah, envy can be a driving factor and force and a fuel or even a foundation to try and achieve things and have a bit more ambition. You know, I want what he's got, and then you go get it. And if you leave it that, cool. And then just go be envious about the next thing. I think envy's fine in small and like short doses. Like if you're envious forever, maybe you're an envious person. That's not good. You know, you're just going to rob yourself of happiness and never feel fulfilled. But you know, if you're comparing things all the time, becoming envious, it's like, you know, the old adage, isn't it? You know, comparison's the thief of joy. I think that's very true. But yeah, in terms of envy with me again, getting back onto me because pride, I don't think I'm really envious. I don't really care. Like if someone's got something cool, I'm like, oh cool, happy for them. And then every now and then I'll see something, I go, oh that's cool. But is that more admiration and inspiration? You know, or is it envy? I'm not sat there like getting mad over it. Like, you know, I suppose I could be envious of other musicians' talents or other singers' abilities, other screamers' abilities, other writers', you know, capabilities and capacities to write certain things. But that just makes me go, oh, it don't make me go, I wish I had that. I go, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if I'm good at that. If I'm not, I'm probably going to keep trying, or I won't bother, and I'll just say, maybe that's not for me. So yeah, that's envy. Let me see if I've written anything else smart and witty and worthy of an apothegm about envy. If envy is so bad, why do adverts exist? Yeah, we've had that, Ty. Didn't I say something about being a cure earlier? Yeah, a bit of envy can cure sloth, and then I've also written pride might trump gluttony, but, you know, we'll get onto that in a bit. So yeah, as with most things, envy is just another little spice of life, and it can be used to enhance and to inspire progress. Too much of it becomes vindictive and vicious, as we've already established, you know, and when paired with, like, you know, if you get wrathful over being envious, you've kind of already let, like, that kind of, not that you're bad, like the serpent, you know, Lucifer's kind of screaming in your ear, like, you wanted that, you're going to take it. Then if you get wrath and lust and other things involved, bad cocktail. So yeah, envy, it's a good fuel, just don't let it rule your life. Pride, the sin of the cardinal sin of everyone's favourite fallen angel, the light bearer, Mr. the Morning Star himself. Just checking my notes again, because I'm stupid and I have not got capacity to remember anything. So yeah, like wrath to me, don't worry, I've not got, you know, just random onset Alzheimer's. Wrath to me is like immediate, ugly, instantly identifiable. It can even be contagious, even if it's, you know, sometimes wrath's necessary, as we've discussed. But pride to me, pride's a difficult one. It can be more pernicious and perfidious and can creep up on you. Like, when does self-esteem become pride? It's like, you know, when does lust become like sickening and twisted, or when does anger become wrath? It's a case of perspective. But I think with pride, being a bit of a self-absorbed arsehole, whatever, that's just a character flaw. You know, when you've got pride to the point of you're disregarding everybody else and you get like a superiority complex, you might as well sign yourself up to be a narcissist, sociopath, or a psychopath. Again, if you're acting in a prideful manner like that, you're just not going to be a very pleasant person to be around, and you're probably going to end up very lonely. You know, no one likes a completely vainglorious bastard. I think it can be quite inspiring, though. If you take pride in yourself or you see someone else taking pride in yourself, it might inspire you to have a bit more pride. And not only that, if you've worked really hard for something, be it a car that you've just bought, I know with me it's more creative endeavours like finishing a piece of writing or releasing some music. Have pride in it. You've put your life's work in, like your heart and soul. Every fibre of your mental and spiritual being has gone into this thing. Have pride in it. Alright, don't go out there and be like, it's the best album in the world, and brandish it like that and mean it, because that's just pathological at that point. But like every release I've ever had with Inheritor, everything I'm doing with Demoralised, my other band, I've already got pride in the things that haven't come out yet, because they're a part of you, they're an extension of yourself. And if you've got pride with yourself, why are you not going to have it with your creative output? So I'm by no means Patrick Bateman in terms of, well, I think he encompasses pretty much every sin other than Gluttony, doesn't he? I'm not like, I've not got the vanity of Patrick Bateman, I've not got the pride of Patrick Bateman by any means. In fact, growing up I was a complete scruff. I'd go out with trainers on the wrong feet, pants backwards, and my mum would just say, you look like a tramp, and I'd be like, I don't care, I'm happy, I don't give a shit. Since I've been in the public eye, not that I'm famous or anything, or even mildly, moderately successful in the music world and industry, I think I've had a kick of vanity and a little bit more pride, purely because you're around so many people who are feeding you compliments or you're talking about artistry with. There's tens of thousands of images of me on the internet and on hard drives and stuff now that never would have existed if I've not pursued this, line of recreational activity and career, shall we say. There's endless video out there of me now and just pictures of me playing on stage. So you look at yourself more than you even would like seeing yourself in a mirror every day. And you post things on social media, and I'm not even going to get started on social media playing into the 7 deadly sins. We do not have time for that rabbit hole, nor do we have time for the Dante's Inferno Contrapasso, sin versus punishment, and circles of hell. We're not going to get into it. That's for another video, another time. But yeah, so in terms of my pride, yeah, I've taken a lot more pride in my appearance, I think, and by that I just mean making sure my hair doesn't look too shit. I mean, as you can see, I have literally the what's the word? I'm going to forget the word for like to do with barbers now, and it's going to annoy me. But in terms of grooming, I've got like the top hair appeal of like lukewarm B-Tech boy band meets Henry Rollins. So yeah, I thought, but I've got these piercings because I think they look cool. I like them. I take pride in myself. People who have tattoos, you get tattoos, you like them. You have pride in yourself because of that. So since playing on stage and being exposed to a wider audience and doing videos like this, like doing interviews and stuff, I'll make sure my nose hair isn't creeping out. I'll make sure my teeth aren't, completely sallow and yellow. That's just a bit of, it's almost like common decency to yourself and your appearance in a way, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose, I've had a bit of a kick for pride, and my music career has supplemented that a little bit and maybe brought it on a little bit. And, I always harken back to and reference that Peter Steele quote, the late great Pete Steele, when he said, not to body shame anybody, but it was like in his Bostonian accent, Massachusetts, wherever he was from. He's like, there's nothing worse than looking at these guys on stage, middle-aged guys, and the tits are all flabby and the guts are hanging out. And I do agree with him to a degree. And then he also said, forever self-deprecating, God love him, I try to do something about my appearance because it needs a lot of work. So yeah, I agree with that. And Lemmy also said as well, I remember reading in Lemmy's book, he said, unless you've got a bit of an ego, why would you try and be a rock star or musician? And maybe that's not true for a lot of prog musicians who just literally do it for the music. But if you're wanting to be a rock star or be a personality within music, go for it. Have a bit of pride. Just don't let it come to the point where you're not fun to be around. You're an arsehole and you're completely self-absorbed and you cannot see the world for your own reflection. And again, if you get like Patrick Bateman, you've done everything wrong. So there you have it. Those were the 7 deadly sins sins. 7 deadly sins and my take on them, and my experiences with them. I think I'm definitely guilty of a lot of wrath and a lot of lust, although I did go about that in quite a tepid and a limited way. I wasn't exactly overly loquacious about that, because no one needs to hear about that, and I will be getting in trouble if I do go into too much detail. So yeah, just to say, all the cool people are in hell. These sins are all completely human. It's a case of subjectivity and context, and when it becomes objectively bad and you're hurting yourself or others, that's where we draw the line. I think we can all agree on that. And I think these sins, while they can bleed into each other, make each other worse, and invigorate each other in a negative way, they can actually be used to combat one another and mitigate each other as tools. Like, if a little bit of pride could kick the ass of sloth, make your life better. If you've got, again, too much gluttony and you get angry at yourself for being a glutton, you might change that. So it's all just a case of balance. Have I got anything else clever and witty to say? Other than that all the best people are in hell? No, I don't think so. So yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I'm not going to bore you any longer. I know I've probably been waffling quite a bit. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. If not, leave a thumbs down. I'll just actually don't do that, because you'll ruin D-Vlog's ratings. Give me hate personally, Nice Guy Tie 666. Just leave horrible comments and remarks on my stuff. But thank you to everybody at Devolution magazine. Make sure you support them. Check everything out they're doing. They do some really cool. Check everything out they're doing. Yeah, that makes sense. They're doing some really cool stuff as always. And thank you for the opportunity to be in this video. Am I a saint or a sinner? I know the answer, but do you guys?